Hi, this is Dr. Anna S.3.E.22, and I'm very fortunate to speak with Shivani, who runs an intensive yoga studio in BC, British Columbia. Now, Shivani has experienced her own difficulties with illness and turned to yoga to recover. Her retreat center is not only in a beautiful location, but it gives you an opportunity to be in a more rustic and simple environment while you recover and use yoga to help with your healing. So thank you so much, Shivani, for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. I know you're from New Zealand, even though you're living in BC. I can hear your accent. Shivani, I know that you yourself experienced some serious illness, and as a result of that, you turned to yoga. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So in 2001, I was diagnosed with severe endometriosis, and at the age of 21 was told to either have surgery every 18 months to 2 years, or they actually put me through menopause, hormone-induced menopause for 6 months. So when I was 21, I went through 6 months of menopause, which was not a pleasant experience, and or have a hysterectomy.
Wow.
And I ended up having to have, over the next 4 years, I had 3 laparoscopic surgeries, and they said, it's still reoccurring quite rapidly. You have quite a bit of scar tissue. We don't know if you'll ever be able to conceive and have children. And then when I was living in Toronto, in 2003, I met this woman called Xenia Splavinsky, or Ananda Shakti. And she was going to be running a teacher training, a yoga teacher training. It actually adds up to about 650 hours.
Wow.
Over 9 months. Yeah, and
you dedicated your life, and you changed your life.
Well, I had to, because as I started to integrate the teachings of yoga, I started to understand why I was experiencing this disease. I started to understand why, and part of the patterns that I was living out were not, they were not haphazard. They were opportunities that I hadn't been able to see from the lens of, this is going to help me grow. I was very much in the victim consciousness of, oh, poor me, I'm so sick, I'm never going to have children, and I really fed into the story for quite a while. And when I started working with Ananda Shakti, I had no intention of teaching yoga. None. No intention of teaching yoga. No interest whatsoever. I worked in the rock and roll industry. I worked with rock bands. I traveled with musicians. I didn't want to teach yoga.
Yeah, that's like a complete life-changing view, and it sounds like you had to allow yourself to learn about the wisdom of your own body in order to get out of a real negative place in your mind and your body.
Absolutely. And for me, the teachings of yoga, the paradigm of how the philosophy works, and then the techniques of yoga, the combination of those in the way that Ananda Shakti taught them to me in the teacher training was life-changing. And within 6 months out of the 9 months of teacher training, I didn't have a single symptom of endometriosis. Not a single one. I went from bleeding 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, just constantly, to regular, no cramping, no breakthrough bleeding, nothing. And for me, it was because of the way that she taught me, not just the techniques, but also the framework of understanding. I'm a Gemini. I like to understand things. That it rewired my entire system. And I haven't had a single symptom of endometriosis since.
So you're living pain-free?
Yes. Sometimes a little bit crabby. Sometimes I get a little bit grumpy.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's just the reality of life. Sometimes we just don't have a good day.
But pain-free, with very normal periods. I'm not on any medication. I'm not on the pill. I'm not on anything. I don't take painkillers. Nothing.
Now you're at a farm in BC in a remote location, and you've chosen your space deliberately so people can actually retreat and learn how to kind of pay attention more to themselves and the distractions in their world. Can you talk a little bit about how the yoga retreats work at your center?
We are very much in service to what is being done. The property itself is 40 acres of pristine forest on the foothills of the Purcell Mountains. So we actually have views looking across the Columbia Valley and down the Rocky Mountains. So it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. We have a very small hobby farm of 14 goats, 20 chickens, 9 ducks, 2 dogs. Because the farm actually allows us to run the yoga retreats from a local council perspective. And it also very much helps with reconnection for people to be reconnected to nature, to have responsibility of another heartbeat without it being another human being, which can be quite stressful. Especially when you're working with first responders and things like that. But, we have these animals and they're joyful and they're beautiful and people come. We have an outreach project that is 100% community sponsored. It's on the patronage.com. There's a lot of people when they're working through deep trauma or deep illness, they don't have an income. They don't have,
Absolutely.
They're completely flush. So we have this outreach project where people can come by donation. You come, you do an hour and a half to a 2-hour private yoga session with an ex-Marine from the States who has chronic PTS, brain trauma injury, BTI, and it's amazing. His blood pressure's gone down to normal. He's not having violent outbursts anymore. He's much joyfuler. He's calmer. His wife is so happy.
I bet.
And this is how we help. We also have weekend retreats, week-long retreats. We have karma yoga residencies where people can stay up to a month. And we work with people from all walks of life. We have some people that have cancer that we work with to support them, spiritual counseling through that experience. I have also had cancer myself. So I have a direct experience on working from a yogic perspective from that, through that experience. And yeah, it's beautiful.
Wow, it sounds like you dedicated your life to making a big difference in the lives of people who have gotten to a place where they can't cope at all, and you created a space where they're learning how to make their lives more reasonable. But it just, seems that you've been almost like a vessel yourself because of your own healing that you've had to do, that it's forced you to really understand what healing means.
Exactly. And it's very challenging when people want to step into a healing experience. They often have a lot of anxiety. They often, their experience, by the time they come to me, they're usually like at the end of their rope, because they're so tired from trying all the traditional ways. And they have it takes a while to create a relationship of trust, right? Because when you want to heal, if you were able to control the healing process yourself, you would have done it already.
Yeah.
Right? So there has to be a letting go. It's been a really beautiful journey, and we're very honored to hold space for people.
So you max 10 people, and so the groups would be very small. I want to just thank you so much for speaking with me today about your experience and your center, and I just want to recap a couple of things. One, you could make an incredible shift when you open yourself up to learn how to heal from the inside out, that there are places that you can go to feel that you can integrate and heal and recover, and that your center actually has an opportunity for people to get support, even financial support, to go into programming in this remote, rustic location where you can just focus on your own recovery. And I just wanted to thank you so much, both for sharing your own story, but telling us what you're doing with the work that you're doing right now, because it really does sound beautiful and remarkable. So thank you for your work and doing what you do.
Thank you so much for having me.
For more Ask Dr. Anna videos and information about post-traumatic growth and recovery, subscribe and like our YouTube videos at What is PTSD, or join us at previous video episodes in our playlist Ask Dr. Anna from the Traumatology Institute team.